Boom. Welcome back, guys. I was showing you gifts, a show created by both myself and my legendary co-host, Joey Pollaro from Jersey City. Over the next 45 minutes, we're going to help teach and share age-old cutting-edge tips, tools, exercises, and hacks to plug into the higher force of gratitude, which is one of our favorite topics. We're also going to share some of our experience around recovery, and we are incredibly blessed to have a special guest join us each week to share their own experiences and also give us all an opportunity to ask any questions. Welcome back, Joey. How you doing, brother?
Oh, fantastic. That song, The Stooges, Lust for Life, pumped me up, man. That is perfect. Yeah, I'm really grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be able to learn a little bit more about what Pjero does. Apparently he works with people like us, taking them higher and unleashing their infinite potential. And I'm all about understanding a little more about how he does that. So let's get him on here. And Pjero, this is loose format, man. It's a loose format. Just go with it.
Pjero Mardesic, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you so much, boys. How are you, Danny? How are you, Joseph?
Awesome.
It's an absolute honor.
So good to have you with us. Before we get started, just anyone out there watching, thank you so much for joining us once again. If you're watching for the first time, please let us know. Drop your comments where you're watching from. We're really grateful to have you back. And if you're returning, thank you so much for your support. And it's also wonderful to have you. Let us know where you're watching from. PJ, it's been a little while since you and I have caught up. It's great to see your face again, brother.
It's good to see yours, man. Like, I remember the first time we met, it was just in my networking event that I did with Sally Illingworth in Sydney, and you were just a shining light in the front. I'm not talking about your head. You yourself were a shining light in the front row, and it was just you were engaged, you were enthralled, you just wanted to understand what I was talking about, which was a subject called self-belief. So I'm absolutely, it's a privilege here for me to share my knowledge in this lifetime with you gentlemen. So, we're all about change. So let's do that.
I've got something for you, PJ. Actually, hang on a second. What's this? Boom. PJ and I have had a couple of interactions over time. That one up in the top right is us in Goulburn and a couple of other events there. So, yeah, PJ, I just wanted to put that together for you, mate. Joey and I have been doing this show for quite some time now, a few months. And one of the things that I want to acknowledge, and I just want to say, and it's related to the work that you do, very often after the show, okay, or during the week, I get a message from someone who viewed and was able to watch, and I was very grateful for us sharing our message of gratitude and recovery. And often we're in job roles and we're in positions where we've got to keep some type of facade and we can't interact with shows like ours. So it's beautiful to know that we are carrying that message. And then if anyone's out there who can't comment for whatever reason, and we're going to dive deeper into that stuff with PJ, please feel free to message any of us directly to get some more information. We'll always respond. So, PJ, tell us a bit more about yourself, brother. Oh, sorry. Wow. Before we get going, PJ, sorry, Joey, I've just cut in. I need you, mate.
Oh, yeah. I was just talking about, no structure, but we do have a little bit of structure.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. And I know one thing for certain is I got to up my smile game with you two, man. You guys got some serious smiles and hopefully you can work on mine. Oh yeah, you guys are looking like you're about to rough somebody up. That's beautiful. We do like to start the show with sharing with the listeners and with amongst us something that we've done well today. And something that we're struggling with and we'll aim towards doing a little bit better tomorrow while giving ourselves permission to be human, of course, because that's a whole nother topic of conversation. And you mentioned it's self-belief. So who wants to start off? How about you, Danny? You look like you're ready, brother.
Yeah, oh look, I love this part of the show, and I've heard too that this is, and I know this for a fact. This is a great way to sort of ground yourself and help acknowledge the wonderful things that we're doing today and the things we could work on. This is going to sound a bit weird and a bit corny, but this morning, I was at the gym like always, and do you know ever have those days when you look at yourself and you just go, you're fat, you're ugly, and I often can have them days, but whatever. But today I looked at myself, right, and I just want to say, I thought you look good, Danny, and I realized as I was saying that to myself that this is what I need to do more of, and we all, or I know this as a human being and a man in recovery, that I need to acknowledge the things I do well. But so look, I'm chuffed that I was able to see myself looking good when I looked in the mirror this morning. Sometimes I look at myself and I just roll my eyes, and that's for something I could do better tomorrow or today's. My focus, my level of focus in certain things, certain areas, is lacking. I guess it's about balance, but I get a bit caught up in a bunch of stuff, and I'd like to be able to focus more on the job at hand when necessary. So yeah, work in progress. PJ, what about you, mate? What have you done well today, and what could you possibly use a little bit of work on for tomorrow, mate?
Okay, what am I doing well today? Well, Danny, you know that last year during COVID, I started the whole get up, have a cold shower, drink a glass of water, eat an apple a day, read 10 pages of the 10 book. Right. Okay, so that's something that I do all the time. Now, the best part about that is what extra I did well today. There's some volunteer work that I do at an antique shop, and that's where I'm sitting right now. And part of the back area is like, it's dirty, it's bad, and we've been saying it for ages. We better clean this up. Now, just like you, Danny, sometimes we look at ourselves and we go, far out, I feel fat today, or blah, blah, blah. You know what? This morning when I woke up with my two boys, coming into the bedroom going, hey, Dad, let's get up, let's have breakfast. In that moment, I was like, how fucking grateful am I? Don't worry about the fat that I've got around my stomach. Blah, blah, blah. Like, I got up, I did my bit, had the cold shower, I had the glass of water, I got them breakfast. The apple a day is coming, the reading of the 10 pages of the book tonight. What I did is I got in here, there's 3 other blokes, and we just got into action. And I said, you know what? I'm going to help them as much as I can. Even though I volunteer, there's a big difference between being at a level of like, come on, boys, you can do this, you can do that, delegate, right? Well, servant leadership. In all the 2 decades of leadership roles that I've had across a multitude of industries, I've realized that you want to be a true leader, and I'm not saying I am, but you've got to get your hands dirty. You've got to be there with them, not just pointing the finger. And we know from all the graphics and all the memes that are out there, leaders pull from the front. We know that. But how many people actually fucking action it? And that's what I woke up doing today. I'm like, I'm going to action today. I'm just going to play. So that's what I did well today. I really owned it this morning. So what can I do better? What can I do better tomorrow? You and I, Danny, we both got kids. Joseph, have you got kids?
Oh, no. I got a couple of plants.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I got a couple
of plants.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, if I don't kill them, maybe we'll think about kids after.
So here's the thing, right? I've got my boys tonight, and tonight, Friday night's our movie night. Now, in the past, I'd have my phone next to me. One thing I truly want to do, I want to put my fucking phone down. It's Friday night. For me, Friday nights now are so much more special because I got my boys and we get to wake up on a Saturday morning and have pancakes or go out for brekkie. So tonight, what I want to do better is I want to put my phone down, no touch the phone. I want to put it down.
Well, and I've got faith in you, PJ. I'm sure you can do it. And look, it takes a little bit of an effort these days, doesn't it? We've become so accustomed. It's a massive part of my life, and I love when I forget my phone at home for something, and I've got to go 2 hours. It's not often, mind you, but I love that feeling,
Well, I was actually just going to mention, I don't know if you've seen, like this evolution. I think this is the first evolution that I've seen in human beings, right? I don't know what this black box is, but apparently it's in people's hands. I don't know. Have you heard of it? I don't know what it is.
Mine's Velcro to the back of my hand.
Yeah.
No,
Anyway.
I've been pretty good at that, actually, because if it's even near me, I feel it pulling me, and it's hard for me to focus, and so I'll do mine, and I also have a pretty rigorous morning routine that I adhere to, that is non-negotiable, that runs on automatic, and I won't touch on that, but I will say that it touches on something mental, something emotional, something spiritual, and something physical. And it sets me up for my best foot forward for the day. But what I think I really did well today is I've been doing some like deep self-introspection writing very consistently every morning, and as well as working with an energy worker, and to kind of jar loose some I don't know, like some shit that I'm carrying around in my cells that I haven't become aware of yet, that I feel is limiting my potential and my ability to connect with others. And I was warned that like whenever we're taking a really good hard look inside, or shining a light in the dark corners, that emotions, strong emotions were going to come up. And I sort of dismissed it, because I've gotten pretty good over the years of managing my mental and emotional hygiene, but it got on top of me this week, and it's been a little bit of an extra struggle for me to stay present and allow myself to feel them, and not just transform them right away or stuff them down. And I'll chalk it up as a win. Is I got into relationships are hard, whether they're friendships, business relationships, teacher relationships, romantic relationships, friendships, whatever it is. And I was put into a situation that typically, it would be really difficult for me to keep my mouth shut, and really end up, reacting instead of responding, and really just cause some damage. And I kept my mouth shut, and I paused, and I breathed, and I felt it coming on, and I held it down. And I guess the one thing that I could do better is ask for help. It's like I have this stuff going on, and I bring it to my higher power, and I bring it to pen and paper, but I also have a gigantic network of people who are, that we have a relationship where we can get vulnerable with each other, and I would rather take it on myself rather than ask for help, or even discuss it out loud. And like that's something I can do better tomorrow, and that's what I will do better tomorrow, is ask for help.
Well done, Joey. Thanks for sharing that with us too. PJ, service is incredibly important, and very brave of you, Joey, to do so. Hello to Rebecca Jarvis for joining us. Thank you so much. Joey Laurie has dropped a comment here. Put the phone down, dudes.
Laurie.
I know. I said, but and Rebecca's also acknowledging the vulnerability, and I love that. Yeah, the three men on here getting a little bit honest and vulnerable. It kind of shows, I think, a lot of courage, doesn't it? Well, that's my experience anyway. PJ, tell us a bit. Before you go, look, I've got something here from your LinkedIn page. Where have I put this? Tell us about this, PJ. I love your logo, your image, the lion. What is it that you're doing today, PJ?
Okay, so if you go back to the image, Danny, I'll explain the image and why it came about. When I started to do my own work, one of the first areas that my mentor, Sally Anderson, helped me dig into was my 0 to 21 story. And for those of you that haven't, in the words of Jordan B. Peterson, those of you that haven't done your past authoring, right? In other words, dig deep into your past, right? What I started to do when I wrote my 0 to 21 stories was I started to unearth the truth, what I've been hiding for so long. Now, when I explain it, I'm just going to keep it short and sharp. I'm unearthing the real truth. I'm going back. I'm doing the work. I've been to the NLP practices. I've done some EMDR. I've been with a mentor. I've been through the questioning. I've asked myself, what did I do? What did I do? What decisions did I make to get me to the results that I am today? So that's unearth. When you look at the next part, it's called integrate. So these are the three symbols at the top of the Pjero brand. Integrate. All of a sudden, we have to integrate new learnings. Because if you put together your life from 0 to 21, what you're going to do is you're going to start to see past references, experiences, anchors, attachments to emotions, memories. And this is all what I do, by the way. It's just a collective. So once you start understanding where and how you got to where you are, you can deconstruct it and reconstruct you again. What you want to be, what you want to achieve, where you want to go, the good aspects. You can understand the bad ones and they won't trigger you anymore because you've understood why did they trigger me? Why on earth did that trigger me, right? And then you've got evolve. So unearth, integrate, evolve. Obviously, evolve. You want to evolve into who the goddamn person you truly wish to be, right? So how it says there, Pjero Mardesic. Now, in the circle is like the map, my interpretation of the map of the brain, right? That little circle with all those little jigsaw pieces in it, right? Conquer the uncomfortable, unleash your potential. Now, let's really dig deep into this. Conquer the uncomfortable. Nothing is goddamn going to grow in your comfort zone. Nothing. Nothing at all. You can't grow anything in a vacuum. So when I talk about conquer the uncomfortable, people often ask me, well, you haven't been through what I've been through, so how are you going to help me? It's kind of like, do you know who the goddamn hell you're talking to? I understand how to conquer the uncomfortable, and I'm going to teach you the process. I don't need to go through what you've been through. I understand the uncomfortable part, and I'm going to hold your hand and guide you through that process. So if you don't think that I'm the right person for you, I don't think there's any coincidence we're in front of each other. But if you're feeling uncomfortable right now, you're in the goddamn right place.
Yes.
There's three things that I work with. When I see leaders in pain, and by the way, let's just acknowledge.
Yes, let's.
How many leaders are actually in pain right now? How many marriages are on the rocks? How many people are disconnected from their children? Sales is shithouse. The bottom line, cash flow, it's poor right now. Yes, there are some people that are winning it. Yep, totally agree.
Yes.
But there are also other things like people's falling to pieces mentally. And what they're doing is through some form of substance abuse or addiction, they're trying to mask and cope with their mental health issues. So there's three things that I focus on when I talk to leaders, especially, or corporate leaders, executive leaders, business owners, influencers, content creators, is this: alignment. It's horrendous how many leaders in their field are actually not aligned with their mission and their vision, and they're so disconnected to the cost of that purely due to their ego and their title. Yeah. So they're using their title. Their stigmatization does exist in that leadership space. Oh, I'm the leader. I don't have mental problems. We all do. And the moment that we normalize that and actually make sure that we're supporting them, that's when things are going to change and shift. Because we're creating
on that, but aren't you sometimes in a position where, and I'm sure this is what people feel like, but aren't you sometimes in a position where you just can't come clean about that stuff, or am I wrong?
This is no, you're totally on point. And the next point, the next point is going to sum that up clearly. The second point is commitment. Commitment. People want to change, but they're not committed to change. Now, part of commitment is walking your talk. I can't sit here and say that I'm an exceptional leader and I stand for exceptional if I don't wake up and do exceptional things. Now, I'm not saying that every single day I've got to be exceptional. What I'm saying is that I've also got to own the feelings if I'm not feeling exceptional. And I reach out straight away to my mentor because I've been through the starting phases. So that's what I mean. I understand. So, Danny, with what you were saying, it's exactly correct. Sometimes we feel like we can't. We feel like we can't.
Feel like it, yep.
We feel like we can't. We certainly can, because I guarantee you that if someone came up to you and if someone came up to you and was going to flog you one in the face, I'm pretty sure you're going to protect yourself. So this idea of like, I can't is just a feeling of like, I feel stuck. I feel like I can't reach out. I might be judged. I don't want to. I don't want to actually own it. What if I do like taking drugs? Well, hang on a minute. The whole idea is not to actually stop. I want you to understand where this is coming from. The whole idea is not to stop the drugs. The whole idea is to understand what it's doing to you. The outcome is we want drugs to be understood, because I know, and this is going to shake the world right now, I know firsthand that an addiction can be so life overcoming. So there are people in executive roles that actually use their addiction to escape the world. So the whole idea is to understand and educate around the drugs. Now, there's always going to be drugs. If you're going to choose that once a month, once a fortnight, once every 2 months, once a quarter, to actually use that as your escape from the world, well, there's a part of that we're never actually going to stop, are we? Let's be real. Not going to stop it. We'd like everyone to stop. We would love everyone to stop. But what comes before that? Education, prevention, understanding that. So then the third part is mindset mastery. So this is where this all ties in. Majority of people that are put in front of me run miles because they're too afraid to go inner where all the gold is. And the fish stinks from the head down. So if you come in at a mid-level corporate event and you do the event and all of those middle-level leaders turn around and go, this is amazing, we want this. There's a couple of things that stop them. First of all, it wasn't even the CEO's idea. The second thing is there's probably no funding. And the third thing is they don't even recognize the importance of investing in their people, investing in their workplace, and investing in their leaders so that they can actually continue to build the business so that it multiplies for the CEO. So I hope by me bringing this to light about what's happening in that extreme, highly successful entrepreneurial space of CEOs, CFOs, and CIOs, there is a need for investing in your staff. Plus, it starts with you.
Thank you so much, PJ, for sharing. Joey, sorry, I've got a couple of things I just want to say before we go on. One of the things I love right here, and one of the things I noticed just then when PJ was sharing like what he does in his work is, you know, we kind of come from different backgrounds somewhat. PJ, Joey, and myself, the stuff, the tools that you're talking about, the courses that you've done, and the stuff that you're bringing towards your clients, to Joey and I are at the 12 steps. You know, it's I think it's really cool where we come from, and both myself and I certainly believe in this total abstinence model because I just can't have one of anything. I'm a pig. And secondly, you touched on, PJ, a couple of things about people using any addiction or substance to get involved in their work or to avoid reality. Tell me what addictions are you talking about there? I'd love to hear from.
All right.
I think I know, but I'd love to hear.
I'm gonna now dig a little bit deeper, and I'm gonna share one aspect of what I do is my major area of focus for myself, and that is addiction. Drugs, alcohol, narcotics, or any sort. Now let's talk about neurological addiction for a moment. Dopamine, porn, gambling, sex, self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is an addiction cycle. People feel like they can't break this glass ceiling. Now listen to the verbiage. People think they feel like they can't break the glass ceiling. That alone, that word alone, I can't. You can't or you won't, or you're just not committed. Do you want to? The sabotage cycle in the language alone, the self-belief, the lack of self-belief is an addiction. So At the age of 10, I caught my father watching pornography. By the age of 14, I was addicted myself. I got so much pleasure out of it. The self-gratification, watching it behind closed doors, being it a facade. And on this side of it, what I did was I created what I call, and in the mental health space, we call healthy coping mechanisms. My healthy coping mechanisms were being extremely friendly, having lots of people around me all the time. I was the class clown, so therefore I was using attention-seeking behavior. I respected women a lot, purely because of what I saw in the porn. I didn't see them as an object. I saw them as like almost a pedestal, almost. So when I then grew up, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, I got a job at McDonald's. I put so much work ethic in to hide what was going over here. So when I'd be chatting with girls, when I'd be chatting with the girls behind the counter, when I'd see buses of people in McDonald's coming in from the ski fields, which is here in Goulburn, because people pass through to go to the ski fields, I'd be chatting up. But I was mentally creating an image that I could go home and have my own self-gratification to, instead of asking them for something, asking for a phone number, asking for anything else. That then continued. So what I did was I used this healthy coping mechanism. I started to see my strengths, but I still used the facade to cover the pornography addiction, which was I started to have a great work ethic. From that, I started to create my own exceptional leadership. I got into Telstra. I was working in telecommunications. I showed this extreme work ethic over here, so then no one would ask what was going on behind the scenes. So when we talk about addiction, and this is where, like, I hope that we can get Nicole Prouse. I've reached out to her. She's a specialist in addiction, like substance addiction. I want to have this conversation with you, Nicole, if you listen, around neurological addiction versus substance addiction, because the substance addiction creates obviously a neurological addiction as well, because you want that extra hit. So neurological addiction is what I studied to understand of what I had, which was I just wanted consistent. When things were feeling hard over here, I would do really good work ethic, which would give me a kick. And then my reward was self-gratification over here. So I just relied on the screen. I was private. It was by myself. I visualized that she was on me. That's what I was doing. So when we talk about addiction, gentlemen, it's not just substance and narcotics. It's neurological.
I knew you were going to go there with that. I guess that's where I was going with that question, PJ. And thank you so much for your vulnerability and honesty in that. Hey, Joey, you there?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm listening. You're kind of preaching to the choir. I am interested. First, I'll share a little bit about my experience. I'm addicted. So if you want to throw sex in there, porn, gambling, alcohol, drugs, controlling other people, relationships, I have them all. And my addiction is currently in remission, but I spent decades in that space. And I had deep knowledge about my addiction. I was forced, usually by the law or by a boss or by parents, into communities to where I would be educated on my addiction. I would understand, intellectually what that meant. And for me, the ounce of relief associated with the addictive behaviors far outweighed any consequences. And we're not even talking about, me being a leader. I'm talking about like me staying off the street, like me keeping a needle out of my arm, like me not causing harm to the people around me or myself, me staying out of jail. And, I had every reason in the world why I should stop drinking and using drugs. I had all the reasons in the world. And understanding that I had a disease of addiction, and understanding that what it really was about was, lack of self-respect and lack of self-worth, never moved the needle for me. So my question for you is, when you are working with somebody and, your experience and, the knowledge around addiction, and you're met with resistance, which will usually happen if you're talking to a real alcoholic or a drug addict or somebody who's really in deep, where, anything on the outside really takes the back seat, the back seat to the job, the back seat to the family, the back seat to the kids, the back seat to freedom. When you come up against a leader like that, what's the strategy? It's like, he's not ready for your message, and maybe you just keep it moving, or what do you use to kind of get them to budge from there?
So the realism of what you're saying is that if they don't want to budge, they're not ready. But the fact that they're in front of you is no coincidence, right?
I love that.
No, there definitely aren't coincidences. I like that.
Resistance is a lack of rapport. Resistance is a lack of rapport. There's this.
Yeah, okay, makes sense.
There's this. I'm trying to get the wording right. Borderline split personality disorder. Borderline split personality disorder. If you look it up in the DSM-5, you'll see it there. Now, I don't diagnose people. I work with what they want versus what they don't want. Let's just make it really quick, right? What they want versus what they don't want. And as soon as I get them to that want stage, I then turn around and I'm just like, right, do you want it, or are you committed now to change? So resistance is a lack of rapport. You've got to emotionally engage with someone. There is a form of therapy that works when it's just in the chair. You don't actually get emotionally involved when you're in the chair. It's when you sit on the beanbag. It's when you sit on the floor. It's when you go and get them a glass of water because the water tank's over there, and you just go, how's your day? Tell me what's going on. I'll lead. If you don't want to talk, I'll lead. You know what? When I got out of bed this morning, I didn't want to get out of bed. You got to be truthful. You got to be honest with yourself. Sometimes when I'm in the chair with a client, I've got to go there myself so that they can see, oh, okay, so you've learnt through your own experiences, the 2 decades of addiction that I had neurologically in my head. So when I'm talking with leaders at that level, I've got to match where they are through my own truthful experiences. If they're not ready to be there, if they're not ready to go there, the last thing I'm going to do is beat them over the head. I'm just going to lead them there. And if they don't want to go there, I'm going to ask if they'd like to see me again, if they'd like to see me again, if they'd like to see me again. There's going to be people that you gel with, that you're meant to be there to help because they want to be helped. And then there's going to be those ones that it's like, no matter how deep you go, no matter how much you share, even if they use it against you, that's not up to you. Your task is to be truthful to you. And if those leaders don't want to go there, no matter how much you've helped them climb their wall, because it's not about breaking the walls, it's about helping them lift up to the level where they're ready to. If they're just not ready, what do you do?
Yeah, truly, I think you made a really good point. It's you need to be able to truly connect with them emotionally, and you do that by showing more of you. And that's how you truly connect with somebody and have the ability to influencing them by trying to understand what their beliefs are, how they evaluate the world, like what their needs are, what their desires are, what's going well for them, where they're hurting. So that's the inroad. That's definitely the inroad. And it sounds like you're doing amazing work, and it's really, we're really excited to have you on.
Thank you once again, Joseph, for that acknowledgement. And I just want to share this little part. I've been on Clubhouse Rooms, which is a drop-in audio app, with other MDs, psychologists, PhDs, professors at a level of like they're a truly expert in psychology. Now, when I list my certificates, because this was brought up with someone said to me, do you have a degree? I said, I don't have a degree. I got a diploma. I got certificates. I've got almost like a tertiary level of education. I've got my own experiences, but I've also got 3 years of working with people, individuals around CBT, DBT, adolescent counseling, therapy, in drug and alcohol addiction and anxiety and depression counseling, diploma in psychology. Now, I would love to go out and get the PhD, but that's not my forte. My forte is that when I'm with someone, I use all facets of all my knowledge to connect with them. That's it. Old school psychology or psychologist or psychotherapist, you're in the chair. They're over there. There's a certain element of connection. But when you're private and you feel what they feel, and you even tell them how what they're saying is making you feel, they see that, they feel that, and it shifts something in them. Because when it's not that you want to cry when you're with them, you want to hold your ground. But there's a difference between them saying, I just want to kill someone. I just want to bash my child when they're answering me back because I couldn't get to the beer quick enough. There's a difference. When they actually see the level of, I really appreciate your vulnerability and acknowledge you right now. I just want to tell you how that's actually making me feel. And I want to let you know that what you're saying is actually inhumane to do to another soul. Tell me why that's the way you feel right now. That's a different ball game. And when you're in that scenario, if your eyes are welling up, and my eyes well up, they go red, they can see it. All of a sudden, they're just like, I don't know, I'm scared. I'm really scared. And that's when you get connection.
It brings us back to that age-old saying around addiction is the opposite to connection. This is all about connection. Laurie mentioned that resistance, the lack of rapport, like you mentioned, that she loves it. And it just reminds me of resistance and the rapport is the connection, isn't it? The closer, it's about intimacy for me too. Like it's the intimacy that I'm afraid of, which is where the lack of rapport and connection comes. But when I do it more often and more regularly, I just automatically, and what you were just saying then, PJ, I think it's that it's the lived experience part that we're bringing to it as well that really adds an extra level of connection too. This show's getting into it. We're at 38 minutes, guys. It's wonderful topics. I'm loving it. Just a shout out to everyone who's been watching and joining us. There's been quite a few comments out there. And one of the things I wanted to touch on was that something that you guys reminded me of around, when we're in that negative head is, and something I shared with the boys today is I think we enjoy our defects of character at times. Does that something, one of the things, self-pity can feel quite good and comfortable, and it's something that I can sort of enjoy plugging into at times. Do you identify that? Would you agree?
Joseph, you first.
I could certainly, relate to, self-pity being something like a warm bath activity. It's very it's very safe. And it's also, as somebody who lived in that state of mind for a while, which in my opinion is the most disempowering, toxic state of mind that one could be in, and it's inflicted on only by ourselves only. But what I found, and this is more being just completely vulnerable, and after, you know, taking really good hard looks at myself multiple times, and currently, is that I used self-pity and I did depression because I was scared to jump into the stream of life. You know, I used it to get attention. I used it to manipulate other people. I use it as a tool as you know, being a self-centered tool to control the world, which is a lot like what, you know, any addictive behavior is. It's about thinking that we are maintaining some level of control over the planet. And you know, for people like us, we treat it with alcohol and drugs. You know, for other people, it might be something else. But I don't get any enjoyment out of self-pity. I avoid it at all costs. It's like to me, it's a non-negotiable, like, don't go there for no reason at all. Like, and I've gotten really good at being able to become aware when I'm heading down that path, to accept that I'm heading down that path, and then shifting it with some of the tools that you discussed, Pjero. So I don't play there. If I do play there, I'm jeopardizing everything's at stake for me. You know, not just my own state of mind, but my freedom, my relationships, jobs, ability to grow and contribute beyond myself. To me, I might be better off sticking a fucking needle in my arm. Like, that's what I think about self-pity. And and the sick part is, at the same time, there's always a payoff for any behavior. Anything that we're doing, there's a secondary payoff that we get from it. And I'd explain to you, like, when I did depression, like, I was diagnosed with being depressed. I was medicated for being depressed. But what it was for me, and this is, I'm not a doctor, I'm not saying depression doesn't exist, but this was my experience. But when I decided to stop doing it and start living and start treating myself with respect, I haven't had an ounce of depression since that day. And I've weaned myself off the medication. So obviously I was never depressed. I was addicted to being a fucking victim and wallowing in self-pity. And that's as disempowering as it gets. So I try not to, like, no self-pity, no exceptions, no negative self-talk, no exceptions. And that's a practice. It's an exercise. And I fail 100 times a fucking day, but I continue at it. I keep getting back, heading towards that new North Star. That's a no-go area for me. Everything's at risk if I go down there. What about
Joseph? Joe, I just want to acknowledge, you know, that self-acceptance right there. That's true self-acceptance. When if you're listening in the audience and you feel as if we're talking to just you, it's because we are. We're taking this another level for you so that you can understand that you don't have to go through that alone, even though it feels like it. It feels like every day you're going through it alone. You don't have to. You could reach out to someone. Here's the one thing. I wrote this quote. Now, self-love is a reflection of the self-respect that we had for ourselves emotionally during a moment we learned something new. I'm going to say that again. Self-love is a reflection of the self-respect we had for ourselves emotionally when we learned something new. So now that you know that understanding, if you go back to 0 to 3, 0 to 5, 0 to 7, 0 to 12, when some of this stuff was beaten into us, the level of self-respect that we had as a child, first of all, we didn't understand what self-love was. We didn't understand what self-respect was. But the fact that we were told, don't do that, you're a bad boy, you're naughty, that type of language and lack of from our parents. Now, from my knowledge, my research, and from my own experience, I believe that all our parents had was the best ability they had at the time. So when they were beating this stuff into us, they were only using their own experiences, their own knowledge, their own learnings. So when you think about when you think about self-love now that we grow up, we don't think about, oh, I've got to give myself more self-respect. It's like, I don't even know what the fuck that is. I got no idea. No wonder I was running away from pain and running towards pleasure, pleasure being the addiction and running away from pain, which is what was hurting us. I chose the vehicle of, if I be exceptional over here in my work ethic, no one will ask what's going over here, because that's where what I'm truly trying to run away from. So self-love, if you're in the audience, you hear it. Self-love is a reflection of the self-respect you gave to yourself emotionally in a moment when you were learning something new. So if you go to the moments when we learned something new in our life, 0 to 12, you had no idea what self-respect was. So when your little tiny soul was growing, it may have, in those moments, said to itself, I'm not even good enough for my parents. I'm not even worthy to have this food. I'm not good enough to play soccer with that team. That little soul was understanding everything, but you as a physical, you had no idea. You had no idea.
Absolutely, man. Guys, coming to an end, man. Joey, thanks, PJ, so much for sharing your wisdom, man. I just want to share with the audience too that I have been involved in a couple of events that you've run, and I've been a part of events with you, and I think you're an incredible man, and I love the way you share your message of hope and recovery and gratitude. That level of connection that I got with you right from the very beginning is very powerful. And the way we wrap this show up, Joey, how do we wrap this show up, man?
We share, based on our experience, a tip, a tool, a strategy, an exercise, or a hack to plug into the higher force of gratitude, which to me is my number one spiritual tool. And over the course of the last 12 years, I've picked up lots of tools along the way, a lot of recovery tools, a lot of self-improvement tools, a lot of self-introspection tools, a lot of communication tools, tons of tools. And the one that packs the most punch for me, that, the biggest bang for my buck is my gratitude practice. And I want to make clear that it's a practice, and that the feelings of gratitude are a direct result of the practice of gratitude. So I don't need to be grateful all the time to be practicing gratitude. And what the tip that I would like to share is to, the only time I really try to mess around in my past is to look at some of the mistakes that I made and failures that I made and adversities that I've either brought on myself or I've somehow collided with over the course of the years, is to extract a blessing. So, and what I've found is some of the more painful moments of my life and some of the most epic failures today are my greatest strengths. So the tip is to look back at some of what you would consider some of the tougher times in your life and larger obstacles, or even straight up pain or trauma, and try to look at that with a different lens and try to uncover how that served us and how that made us the people that we are today.
Thank you so much.
Wow,
that's beautiful. What about you, Pjero? What a tip, a trick, a hack, and lesson to improve levels of happiness and gratitude?
Okay. I understand truly how to conquer the uncomfortable. When I explain this tip, I want to be mindful how I say it, and I want to make sure it comes across to the audience the right way.
Sure.
We surround ourselves with people who we like to spend time with, and those 5 most empowering people, and we move away from what we dislike. There's a difference. If you run away from something because it's making you uncomfortable, well, maybe that's where you should stay to learn something. Because when you actually move towards a group and you want to surround yourself with those 5 people that you become the average of, they have to still create discomfort for you in order for you to grow. So that's by pushing you to be better and so on. but don't run from that group if they make you uncomfortable in ways that could actually grow. So my tip is place yourself purposefully in places that make you uncomfortable, because you're only going to learn something about yourself. You're only going to learn something about yourself. Triggers and shadows, Carl Jung. It's one of my areas of focus. That's how you're going to grow, when you understand more about yourself. So the group that you're in, are you in that group because you've got to learn something about yourself at the same time? Don't just run from it because it's making you uncomfortable. There's something that you've got to learn from that before you move on. That's my tip. Place yourself in areas of uncomfortability.
Beautiful. Pjero, thank you so much. Look, mine is a little bit similar. And one of the things that's constantly come up, certainly in the messages, was around courage, being brave. One of the things that I certainly remember when I first started my recovery from drugs and alcohol is I was this incredibly scared little guy who thought he was tough, but actually I was absolutely petrified of the world. It's why I continued to use drugs and alcohol for so long. I thought I had no idea, but so today I'd just like to remind people that when we get out of our comfort zone and we, like PJ just said, and we be brave and I have some courage, I never regret those moments, and I always sort of give myself a bit of a pat on the back, even though it can make me sick at times, going to events, getting up and speaking in front of a lot of people, whatever, approaching someone in the street who I don't know to ask just for directions, just those simple little things when we force ourselves to get out of our comfort zone, be brave and have some courage, are probably some of my most memorable and growing moments that I've ever experienced in recovery. So be brave, guys, is what I'd love to share. PJ, where do our audience, if they'd like to contact you, I'll put that banner up on the page again, but have you got anything else you want to add where people can contact you or get in touch with you?
LinkedIn, and obviously my website, which you can find on LinkedIn. There's Facebook pages. There's Instagram pages. There's Clubhouse. I love doing drop-in audio rooms. I actually do live coaching sessions and hot seat events on Clubhouse. They're just amazing. But I just want to pull this away from me just for a moment. I just want to thank the audience for if you listened. Those people that jumped in and dropped us a chat line. Those of you that listened, you are what make us. So thank you for listening. I hope you share the recording. Because without you sharing our message, like we won't be able to continue to spread that message. So thank you as an audience. And
absolutely.
Thank you, Joe and
PJ,
James.
We've had people join us from all over the world. It's actually incredible how this works. And like, let's just finish with this. And I just want to emphasize again that I know a lot of people out there in the workplace find it hard to sort of speak up, be brave, and tell their truth. So if anyone out there is suffering from, drug, alcohol, gambling, porn addiction, and it's having that negative impact on your life, please feel free to reach out to any one of us and, send me a DM. It's not uncommon. It's actually very common for us to have those, things going on in life. So PJ, hang around for a sec. I'm going to end the broadcast. Like I said, thank you to every single one of you guys who have interacted and joined us in the messages. You really do help us make this show awesome. And we'll see you next week with another guest. And thank you so much. Stay with us, PJ.
Thank you,
guys.
everybody. Thank you.